Welcome to a milestone. You are watching the 15th episode of 86,400 Stories. Since we started this journey, we have traveled across continents and industries to find the mud and the Moat of the world's most powerful people. We watched Tony Fernandez buy a failing airline for 25 cents and turn a massive debt into a regional empire. We saw Aliko Dangote move from trading sweets in the streets of Kano to owning the industrial backbone of an entire continent. We witnessed Jo Kunfei's transition from a mountain orphan to the touchscreen queen of the global smartphone industry. And in our last episode, we tracked Sergey Brin's escape from the Soviet Union to building the algorithm that organizes the world's knowledge. But today, we are covering a different kind of sovereignty. We are moving from the high-tech clean rooms of Silicon Valley to the red clay of Atlanta, Georgia. We are telling the story of a man who didn't just ask for a seat at the table in Hollywood. He bought the entire building, the land it sits on, and the roads leading up to it. This is the story of a man who spent 6 years sleeping in a car, only to build a kingdom larger than Disney, Warner Brothers, and a Paramount combined. This is the heroic struggle of Tyler Perry. To understand the 330-acre kingdom he owns today, you have to understand the 5-year-old boy who owned nothing but fear. It is the 1970s in New Orleans. Tyler Perry is growing up in a home where the air is heavy with violence. His father, a man prone to alcoholic rages, beat him so severely that Tyler once tried to take his own life to escape the pain. This is the emotional mud at its thickest. When your own home is a battlefield, your mind becomes your only sanctuary. One afternoon, he's watching Oprah Winfrey on a small television. She gives a simple piece of advice. Write down your thoughts. It's cathartic. Tyler starts writing letters to himself. He writes about the pain, the anger, and the characters he creates in his head to protect himself. He realizes that a pen and a notebook are the only things the world can't take from him. He is building a library of human emotion long before he ever steps foot on a stage. He eventually takes those letters and turns them into his first play. I Know I've Been Changed. In 1992, Tyler takes every cent he has, $12,000, saved from working odd jobs as a car salesman and a bill collector, and he puts everything on the line. He rents a small theater in Atlanta. He expects a crowd. Only 30 people show up. He loses everything. For most people, that's the end of the story. But for Tyler Perry, that was just day one. For the next 6 years, he stays on the grind. He restages the play again and again and again. And every single time, it fails. He becomes homeless. He isn't just struggling. He's living in a blue Geo Metro. Think about that for a moment. 6 years. That is 2,190 nights of sleeping in a cramped seat, showering in gym locker rooms, and watching his peers buy houses and start families while he is eating bread in a parking lot. Hollywood experts told him his work was too religious, too black, too niche. They told him there was no market for his stories. But while Tyler was sleeping in that car, he was doing the most valuable market research in history. He was talking to the people the system had forgotten. He realized that the experts were wrong. He wasn't building for Hollywood. He was building for the people who lived in the mud with him. In 1998, on his 7th attempt, something shifts. He rents the House of Blues in Atlanta. This time, the line is around the block. The place sells out for 8 nights in a row. The mud starts to turn into gold. But here is where the 86,400 playbook becomes legendary. Tyler Perry didn't take a check from a studio and say thank you. He stayed independent. He realized that the characters he created, like the gun-toting grandmother Medea, were his proprietary assets. He built a relationship with his audience that didn't require a middleman. He was touring his plays like a rock star, selling millions of tickets directly to his community. By the time he went to Hollywood in 2005 for Diary of a Mad Black Woman, he had so much leverage that he was able to negotiate a deal no one had ever seen. He retained 100% ownership of his content. While other stars were fighting for a higher salary, Tyler was fighting for the copyright. He realized that a salary is temporary, but a library is forever. He spent the next decade churning out 20 films, nearly 1,000 television episodes, and a dozen plays. He became his own factory. His moat wasn't just his talent, it was his vertical integration. By 2026, Tyler Perry's net worth has crossed $1.5 billion. But the number isn't the story. The land is the story. In 2015, he purchased 330 acres of a former Confederate Army base in Atlanta. Think about the poetic justice of that. A man whose ancestors were once owned as property on that soil now owns the soil itself. This isn't just a film lot. It is a sovereign city. It features 12 massive sound stages, a to-scale replica of the White House, a luxury hotel lobby, and an entire trailer park. It is bigger than the studio lots of Disney, Warner Brothers, Paramount, and Sony combined. When a blockbuster like Black Panther or a Marvel movie needs space, they pay him rent. He is the landlord of Hollywood. Tyler Perry proved that you don't have to wait for permission to be great. He proved that the mud of a broken childhood and 6 years of homelessness can be the foundation for a billion-dollar fortress. He didn't just break the glass ceiling. He bought the building and replaced the roof. I want you to think about where you are right now. Maybe you are 10 minutes into your morning run. Your legs are starting to feel heavy, and your breath is coming short. Maybe you are sitting in your car, stuck in a commute to an office, where you feel like just another cog in someone else's machine. You might think that listening to these stories is just a way to pass the time. You might think the impact is negligible. You are wrong. Success is not a sudden explosion. It is the aggregation of negligible gains. Every minute you spend feeding your mind with the heroic struggles of people like Tyler Perry, you are deprogramming the Soviet logic of your own limitations. You are learning that the experts don't know your potential. You are learning that failure is just the market telling you that your strategy needs a pivot, not that your dream is dead. If Tyler Perry could sit in that Geo Metro for 2,000 nights, holding a handwritten script and believing in a vision that no one else could see, then you can survive this 45-minute commute. You can push through that last mile of your run. You can walk into that office and start building your own moat after hours. The impact of these stories adds up. It builds a layer of mental armor that the world cannot penetrate. It gives you the intellectual grit to keep going when the 30th person tells you no. Because by the time the 31st person says no, you'll be the one owning the building. So, what do we learn from the Studio King? First, ownership is everything. If you don't own the dirt, you're just a tenant in your own life. Second, consistency is the only currency the universe respects. Tyler didn't win on the first try, or the fourth, or the sixth. He won on the seventh. And third, your mud is your greatest competitive advantage. The pain of your past is the fuel for your future. If this 15th episode gave you the spark you needed to keep running, to keep driving, and to keep building, then hit that subscribe button and join the 86,400 Stories community. Tell me in the comments, what is the Geo Metro moment of your life right now? What is the one dream you are protecting that the world keeps calling a fail? I read every single one. The pen is in your hands and possibility has no postcode. Anything is possible.